Instead of the pairings we know are going to happen, should they be matching Francesca with Philip and Eloise with Michaela? No. There is a huge prevailing argument that the sapphic storyline in Bridgerton should be given to Eloise instead of Francesca. And I understand why people are thinking this, because I have heard so many arguments for this, but I do think that it is a complete misunderstanding of these characters and also of the queer experience as a whole. A lot of Bridgerton book readers don't like Philip and really liked Michael. Even before season 3 of Bridgerton came out and we understood that Michael had become Michaela, there were so many people telling me while I was reading these books that I was going to adore Michael and hate Philip. Those were like the majority of my comments. And I understand that there is a deep love for these books, but this is an adaptation and so many things have been changed already. Eloise was not nearly as radical or as feminist or as outspoken in the books than she is in the show. She is a much more fully formed character. And I think that there's this misconception that because Eloise is so radical and because she's so against society and but adhering to society's rules, that it makes sense for her to be queer. She's against marriage, she doesn't want to be a part of society, she must love women. I can see why people think that these dots connect, but they don't. They're not even on the same planets. Eloise in the show is more of a masculine woman compared to Francesca, who is the epitome of femininity. And I think that there's a disconnect in a lot of people's minds that it's Francesca who would actually be interested in other women compared to Eloise. Because a lot of people are still trying to place heteronormative ideals on these queer characters. Francesca is a very feminine woman, and these types of queer women do exist, and they deserve to be represented in media. We have not seen a single shred of evidence that Eloise is interested in other women romantically. We have seen evidence that she is interested in men romantically. We had an entire storyline in season 2 with Theo that proved this, which also just goes to show that Eloise isn't against the idea of being with someone, she's just against the idea of being in the ton and the marriage mart, which is not to do with her being queer, it's to do with her not liking society and the rules it imparts on her. She wants to be an academic. That doesn't mean that she wants to have a woman as a partner. I also think there's a lot of bisexual erasure, because when Francesca was announced that she was going to be having a queer storyline when Michael became Michaela, a lot of people immediately assumed that her love for John was invalid and that she didn't love John anymore. And a lot of those people have now watched season 4 and understood that Francesca does love John. But the immediate response that suddenly Francesca was never in love with John and never felt anything for him felt really closed-minded. I also think it should be made clear that Francesca's sexuality has not been clarified, and it might never be clarified by the show because this was a society that wasn't using these terms, but even so, doesn't invalidate her love for John. Even if she is completely sapphic, she still loved John. But moving away from the queerness of it all, these pairings don't match. One of the best parts about the Bridgerton series and these love stories in general, and just watching any romantic story outside of Bridgerton, is that the pairings often balance each other out. That's what makes a believable and endearing relationship. I have no doubt in my mind that Michaela and Eloise would get on swimmingly. I'm sure they did get on swimmingly when Eloise spent the summer with Francesca and John in Scotland. I'm sure they got on great, but I don't think they would make a good match because they are fundamentally too similar. These are two inherently selfish people, and I want to make it clear, I'm not using selfish as like a completely negative term. They are just more internalized people who are often focused on their own immediate issues. That would make for quite an explosive relationship, and probably not one that would end up working. I can see them growing to resent each other. And the same goes for Francesca and Philip. Both Francesca and Philip are loners at their core. Again, quite a negative term used to describe them, but I don't know what else to say. And the reason that Francesca and John worked so well was because while they were both more isolated people, they comforted each other. They were gentle with each other. Philip is not a gentle character. He would not have that same kind of rapport with Francesca. Philip is a loner in the way that he needed someone to kind of pound down the walls and drag him out kicking and screaming. Francesca is a loner in the way that she needed someone to gently coax her out. These pairings just don't work. Francesca is going to have a queer storyline. You just gotta get over it at this point. It's gonna happen. If anything, look forward to it. I'm sure it'll be a beautiful love story. They're gonna change Philip. They've changed every single man from the books into the show. I think we're gonna be fine with Philip changing as well. You think I liked Book Benedict? No, that man was my mortal enemy. He was on my #1 shit list of most hated book characters ever, and yet the show Benedict was fine. Didn't have a problem with him. It was great. I think it'll be worth our while if we all just take a beat and understand what a good adaptation this is, because these books were interesting. They were compelling, but they didn't have the level of depth and the dynamic nature of these characters that the show has given it. There is so much that we have gained from the show. We gained more Queen Charlotte, we gained Lady Danbury, we gained Violet having a proper storyline. We have more of Eloise and Francesca than we ever got from them in the books, just in these seasons alone, and we haven't even got to their starring roles yet. There is so much that the show has given us and made the books better. I think we can have a little faith that they're going to do their seasons justice. We don't have to be pushing our own agendas on them just because we don't understand that queer women can be really feminine, or we don't understand that they're going to change the man from the books. Even if you didn't like him, they're going to have to soften him anyway. It's okay. We can breathe. It'll be fine.